we're going to actually broadcast this on LinkedIn as well. So that it's available on LinkedIn at the same time, which I think is quite good. So hopefully that will be of some benefit. But what I think I'm going to do is hand it over to you two to have a conversation about this, because this is going to be the first time you've both been in the same room on this particular subject.
Mhm.
Is, yeah, the first time, but not the first time we've been in a room together networking or learning what each other does.
Absolutely.
Yeah, which is vital, really. And
Absolutely.
what we said to people before, if you're looking for a new job opportunity and you see one arise, do as much research on the company that you're looking to send your CV to as you can. Try and drop as much information in there that will make them think, oh yeah, they've done a bit of research, and they're very proactive. I'm sure, Dax, that's the kind of sort of advice you'd maybe look to give candidates.
Yeah, I would definitely. I think what candidates really need to be thinking of is when they're actually writing their CV or applying for a role, make it quite specific to the role. So look at the job description, look at the person specification, and what criteria are they looking for? What type of skills do they want, or the experience, and then make your CV, tailor your CV to that specific role. That's quite important, because when it comes to shortlisting, that's exactly what the managers are going to do. They're going to take your CV and they're going to look at their criteria quite objectively and say, does the CV demonstrate some of the things that I'm looking for? So, for example, they might be looking for, I don't know, let's take an example. GCSE English in maths and English at level C or above. Now, it doesn't matter if you haven't got it in this company, in this country, but can they demonstrate that? They might have it somewhere else. So, you know what, if they say, yeah, I've got grade C, tick, they've got a score for that. So it is really taking that job description and person spec and then tailoring it to the specification that the employer is looking for.
Yeah, and I would guess telling stories as well, if only briefly, but I mean, if somebody's looking to see if somebody can work on their own initiative, you can maybe put an example or two in there, saying, oh, we had a day when the production line broke down, so I decided that we would do this in a different manner just to keep the flow of product working through the system. That's showing initiative. It's showing that you can work on your own, and maybe even show a few sort of potential managerial skills going down the road.
Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes what I see in CVs is people kind of copy their previous job description and put it in the CV. Well, we can all do that, but actually, it's not the word. You can now demonstrate how you do planning, organizing, showing initiative, teamwork, by saying I'm a team player. What does that actually mean? Put a
Yeah.
scenario in there in saying, actually, I have worked as part of a team, and it doesn't matter whether it's you're referring to volunteering work or paid work, or you're part of the football team, it really
Yep.
doesn't matter. All those experiences, when it doesn't have to be paid work to show that you've got the skills.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the great challenges we've been really discussing, Daxa, recently is we noticed a few weeks ago that the hospitality industry, although it was coming back, was being really challenged by the fact that so many staff had moved on to different sectors. And that there was suddenly this demand and recruitment for chefs, and restaurants were actually having to stay closed at certain times because they hadn't got the staff within the rota that were qualified. And we found that quite surprising, that all of a sudden these industries were opening up after so long furloughed. and that the furlough challenge was quite significant. You must have seen quite a lot of that interesting challenge recently.
Yes, in recruitment, I think that it's twofold. There are those who are within jobs who don't want to move because fear of what's going to happen in the future. I don't know, so I might as well stay where I am. And then the other side where individuals have thought, well, actually, I need to be really rethinking about where I go back, what's going to happen. Do I stay in, like you just said, hospitality, and do I be a chef, or do I now go and do something else? And there's a lot of that as well that is happening.
Yeah.
So I've asked Nick a lot about what he does, and obviously it's the first time you've come on. And Nick Dancers, many of you will know if you've seen these videos and looking and thinking, okay, this is interesting. As I know one or two people probably are. You're a bit nervous about coming on, folks, but Nick, as you know, is from Postify, and he's involved in the recruitment sector. Daxa, can you just introduce yourself and what you're involved in? Because I'm sure that's going to be fascinating for people.
Yeah, sure. So I'm Dr. Patel. My company is called HR Results Limited, and what we do is provide HR support to small to medium organisations. But what that actually means is that becoming a business's in-house HR person, so adding value to a business. And what I actually do in terms of this is I help my clients with recruitment. So it could be from the beginning, from what Nick does in terms of advertising the role and making sure the medium is right and getting out there to the number of platforms that Postify actually does. And then from then on, it is then receiving the CVs back and doing the shortlisting. And that's why I'm saying to everybody on this platform, tailor your CV, your application form to the job description and the person specification that you are actually seeing. Because the first part of shortlisting, without seeing anybody, is looking on that piece of paper and saying, well, what are the things I can measure from this piece of paper, and then scoring them. Not every criteria will be able to measure from that piece of paper. Then it is, okay, so they've reached a certain level. Who are we going to interview? How many people do we want to interview? And then take it to the next stage, which could be then face-to-face or Zoom or Teams, however the interviews are taking place. And again, it's still interviewing against your job description and person specification criteria.
Yeah, I mean, this really touches on some of the areas that you have previously spoken, Nick, about how the employer is putting that information out.
Yeah.
In a very, very changed climate to what it was when we first launched this, because we've gradually seen lockdown come down. The 19th sees further changes. So if you're watching this on Facebook, for example, and we're already live on LinkedIn anyway, or being broadcast through Facebook to LinkedIn, folks, in case you're interested. We've already seen that change. We know that certain industries will be expanding. The nightclubs are opening up. That's further hospitality industries that are opening up as of next week. Where are we with the recruitment side of it at the moment that you're seeing, Nick?
Well, I think those industries, they never really, in some of the jobs, the waiters, waitresses, and the chefing roles, I think before typically a lot of it was word of mouth. And I'm on a Facebook platform, which is just for the bartending community. And they're still trying to get the candidates via this Facebook representation. And I think there will be a reality at some stage that we need to really start using proper recruitment soon. I've been on there for a while. I'm never too salesy. My presence is there. I'll drop little comments to say I'm here, but as yet not been a big take-up rate. And I mean, our offering is very affordable compared to recruitment companies.
How are we doing in terms of Birmingham and Manchester? Because we already know we've had people coming online from those areas, and you've been on the call where we've had somebody coming on there.
Yeah, I mean, they're big areas for hospitality, and there will be lots of jobs in there. Even if it's not going to be the job for you, you may be looking down the road sort of 5-10 years to your ultimate job. But at this moment in time, to get into some paid employment is really vital. Again, that's helping to strengthen your CV going forward. I was on a call earlier today. Daxa was on the same call, but we never got in the same room. I was in this room and there was a chap. He was running 2 businesses, both in the logistics sector.
Yep.
And there was another chap in the meeting who works for a wealth management company, quite high up in a wealth management company. And he said to this guy from the logistics company, he says, "How did you start?" And he says, "I started as a picker-packer." He says, "So I've done the job from the shop floor up, and now I've got 2 businesses that are in that." And the chap, the financial guy, was laughing. He said, "What did you do?" He says, "I was a picker-packer."
Yeah.
And you know,
my son-in-law is what started off as a picker-packer, then he went on to forklift. Now he's one of the management at a certain local company.
Yeah.
And you know, the other thing is, Nick, what you're saying is about working in a different industry. It doesn't matter, and I think John, you just said it as well. You know, being in paid employment, you still pick up the skills that are relevant in other employment as well. You know, teamwork, like planning and organizing. You know, they're just standard skills that you need to have in any workplace. So yeah, I mean, you know, otherwise, you know, when you get to interview, the interviewer will say, and this is one of the other first things I do before I even do shortlisting, is I go through the CV and I look for gaps, because that is my number one question. Okay, so I can see there's a gap of 2 months here. What did you do during that time? How did you fill it? That's standard what I would do looking at a CV, is looking at the gaps.
Now, that's actually interesting, because there's going to be loads and loads and loads of people that will have a gap from March 2020 to the last few months potentially. Now, I say that because I was furloughed, and we're all part of the same network called Pure Network. We've all been on there regularly, so if you find out about Pure Network, come along and have a chat with us as well on that. But that's on LinkedIn. But that area is going to be quite interesting, how people handle what they did. It's going to be a talking point in interviews. What have you done during that period of furlough, if you've been furloughed?
What training did you do?
Yeah.
Right? Because you can go and do training. You could have gone and done training.
Yeah.
So what have the individuals done?
Yeah.
Sorry, Nick, you were going to say something?
Well, you know, I'm a big advocate of networking, and I don't know if I shared my story, but last year I knew I was going to be losing my job. I still kept networking. I started to do more networking, and I started to promote myself rather than the business I was representing. And fortunately enough, in one of the meetings I was in, is my current boss, company owner. He saw me and thought, I quite like that guy. An hour later, I agreed to a job with him.
We all like you, mate. We all like you.
But if I just
you
thought,
stars.
but if I just thought, well, I'll ride my 3 months furlough out and then start looking, that would have been totally the wrong thing to do. It's so difficult at the moment. You just got to keep going and keep pushing.
Yeah, and that's a key encouragement at the moment. If you're struggling, as loads of people are, finding the right job, and you're thinking, well, where do I ask the questions? I've deliberately moved my head, folks, as you can see, because it's highlighting Tuesday Zest 8 o'clock. It's on a weekly basis. You normally see Nick here every week having a chat with the latest updates. So the first few seconds you see of Nick and I gassing. But whenever we have someone like Daxa here, we really encourage folks, and I'll explain why. Daxa, if you're on LinkedIn, and this is being broadcast to LinkedIn as well, or will be, Daxa is regularly on the network talking about her skills and what she brings to business in the same way that Nick does. And I've got to tell you, folks, these guys have give their time up for free to have questions being asked and to answer questions if you have any. Now, you may well find some of the posts. There is the LinkedIn option there to click on and join a Zoom meeting any Tuesday. And you've got the time and the day there when we're actually doing it. So if you're one of those people that actually clicks in and thinks, oh, just find out what's happening at that, just to hear the latest, we do that. We actually have it here. We are regularly looking at what jobs are coming out. We're regularly talking to top people like Daxa and Nick to find out their view from the market, from the employer's perspective, as well as the interesting cases that they've had or had experience of. So, particularly if you're on LinkedIn, please give them some encouragement, because they're giving their time up for free. No one's paying any of us anything. But what we are trying to do is open up this conversation that often isn't occurring on LinkedIn or Facebook about the job market. And as you can tell, Daxa, I'm hoping, will be returning to us and sharing more. But as you found last week with Brendan, he came on and gave a load of information, and it's been really encouraging to get this information coming in. So if you're part of the recruitment, the HR field, we want you to join in with us to bring this discussion up, to actually answer questions, to raise questions, because unless people are asking questions, we'll be talking about our key favourite aspects of the field. Guys, there are some people I know that hugely respect the two of you on LinkedIn and really know what you bring to the community. Is there anything either of you would like to say to the people on LinkedIn who will probably be seeing this today?
Before we go on to LinkedIn, I think, Nick, you mentioned a really good thing about you started networking. And I think it's important to say to our viewers really here is that you don't need to pay for networking. You don't need to go to groups that you have to pay for. There are so many free groups across the whole of the UK, and you either go on to Eventbrite and just search for them, or search for local groups, because they are, even if they were paid before, they might be free now whilst they're online. So
particularly groups like the one in Doncaster, and the ones in Selby. Tell us a bit about that, Nick. Come on, let's have the latest news from you on that one.
Yeah, well, we have got a new group in Selby. Yeah, you can, with that one, it's a new starting group with some really positive people in it. You can visit there 6 times in a year for free before you decide to be a member. So, yeah, if there's anybody out of work, I mean, it's free, and you're meeting people who might have a job.
Wow.
So you just never know, do you? A networking group in Doncaster, there's 4 visits there free before you need to be a member. And then I do lots of other free networking. The Federation of Small Business, they're networking all over the country. And at the moment, I think up until September, they're keeping theirs as a free offering. We've been on one today, Talk Networking, and Felicity has a free offering as well there. So there's
On Point Network, which runs tomorrow, is open. Limited number of spaces on that, though, because we have only an hour to get everybody in. So Jason runs that, and he's been talking about some of the key aspects we've been talking about here as well. It all interconnects, and of course we're all on Pure Network on a regular basis, which is always positive to actually talk to the people there, including Daxa, who brings some fantastic thoughts each week when she comes on. She's a complete inspiration.
Well, if there's any business owners watching, Dax's July newsletter was absolutely eye-opening, especially about if a member of staff actually leaves and you're looking to replace that member. I mean, a lot of employers will not do this. They'll not question the one that's leaving. They maybe know why, or they maybe don't know why, but at least it might be for a good reason. And if it's for a good reason, they want to know why that person's been there for so long, so they can again attract the right candidate back into that role.
But also,
and it's really invaluable advice.
It's ask the person that the role that you were doing, do we need to make any changes, or would it make it better if we made the changes? Because sometimes when you're in employment, you think, oh, I know which side my bread is buttered, I'm not going to tell them about the improvement. But that's, as a business owner, it's there. That's the really good point. They're leaving, they're going, they found a job. Ask them. They might be open and honest. If you've got a good relationship with them, they might say, actually, do you know what? If you improve this, then it will work a lot better. So yeah, that was my within my newsletter this month. Thanks, Nick.
It was, yeah.
Well, I'm hoping that we hear more and more about your newsletter, Daxa, because it sounds fantastic, and I've now got to plug into that. I've now got to really get into that because it sounds absolutely fantastic, and every time you come on the Pure Network, really encouraging. I think we'll wrap it up there for today, folks. And if you're seeing us live, that's great, but please leave a comment. If you're finding this video, please leave a comment so that we get your feedback on the content that we're actually talking about. We try to keep it informal, and we try to make it as interesting as possible. But both Daxa and Nick have got so much experience and so much knowledge. We really want to have them back, and they want to be able to answer questions as well. So that would be really good. Ladies and gentlemen, my thanks to Nick and Dax today. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, John. Thanks.
Bless
Thanks,
you both.
John.
I will
Nice
stop the
seeing you all.
recording. Bear with me, I'm just